Hello, all. Welcome to the latest edition of Level Up with Times Techies. Over the past decade, it seems like cloud computing has taken over the world. The on demand availability of computing resources via just an internet connection is what has really allowed us all to enjoy the plethora of digital services around us. We have with us today two experts in the field of cloud computing to shed light on the kind of skills and competencies that are required for a successful career in this field. We have with us Himani Agrawal, who's the country head for Azure at Microsoft India. And we also have Dibyasom Puhan, who's an Azure student developer and is in his final year of college at UPES Dehradun. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you so much, Akhil. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, those watching us live can jot down your questions in the comment section. We promise to try and take them up at the end of the webinar. Now, why don't we begin? Himani, we can start with you. For freshers out there, students like the Dibyasom who are in their final years who want to get into cloud computing, what would you say, like some of the top skills that you look for, especially when you're hiring?
So, first of all, I would just want to talk to people about what is changing out there in the world, right?
Please.
By cloud computing. So, if you look at it today, organizations, they need a trusted digital foundation. All of us are living in that world. We've experienced it. It got accelerated in the last few years, definitely a lot more. And why? Because it helps them adapt and thrive, even if there is any shift in the world around them. So they need a solution which can help them do more with less, by maximizing the value of their investments, backed by the data that exists in the organizations, getting the insights out of them to drive that business outcomes. And that's where cloud is actually helping every company to be a digital company, whether it is governments or enterprises or startups or SMB, any kind of business. They're innovating using cloud because it provides that common platform on which everyone can innovate and apply their unique needs and solutions. Actually, if you look at it, just look at the studies. Gartner estimates that over 95% of all new digital workloads will be deployed on cloud-native platforms, which was approximately 30% in 2021. So by 2025, that's the shift that's going to be there within the country and the globe and globally as well. And we actually made a commitment to all our customers that we are all in on cloud because we understood that opportunity. And today, if you look at it, Microsoft Cloud is the most trusted and comprehensive cloud, which helps organizations meet the challenges. The products, they span 6 critical areas where it's security, infrastructure, digital and application innovation, data and AI, business applications, and modern work. So if you look at it, if you look at the entire 6 of these critical areas, they power each and every enterprise or every business. So that's where the students, the developers who are coming out in the industry, they will need to build their skills on, because these are the fundamental areas which organizations are looking at that you need to be expert in so that you can work towards making that difference to the organizations, help the businesses grow.
Okay, excellent. Okay, and what about the skills? When you're looking to hire, what type of skills do you really look for in a student?
If I look at the skills, so there are, the areas that I spoke about, you need to, of course, have the skills in that. It's not just the technical skills that people look at. You need to look at also how can you relate to the business, because if you are a developer, you are building an application or you building some code that is going to power some part of the business function. So it would always be good to have that business understanding as well, and make that linkages to the skills that will need to build these codes.
Right.
And of course, when you talk about, for an example, you talking about the cloud computing architecture, and you're, let's say, building microservices based application, right? Now, when you do that, the first and foremost thing that people should think about, how do I build security in it? Because see, we are living in an age of digital innovation. Security at every layer becomes very important, whether it is the infra layer, whether it is the data layer, whether it is the application layer, network layer, whatever you talk about, security has to be the foundation of it. It should not be the afterthought. It should be built in as the foundation. So that's what you need to really think about when you are building the skills, or when you are learning and getting ready for the industry.
So some cybersecurity skills, from what I understand, what you're saying is crucial then.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What what do they need to know for that? Is it like very different domains, like cloud computing, and then also is it difficult then to also learn how to secure
No,
everything?
I don't think it is difficult to learn. You actually need to think of, very, all aspects of it. You need to think about the multi-layer defense, for an example. You need to think about identity and access management, which is a fundamental aspect of security. How do you control access to the resources? So you need to think about that. For an example, Azure Active Directory that provides robust identity and access management capabilities. So multi-factor authentication, conditional access policy, role-based control. Network security becomes another important aspect of it, which you need to learn and be able to design, so that you protect against both the external and internal threats, right? You need to think about data protection. You need to think about threat intelligence. You need to think about security, like the DevOps, secure DevOps. So you need to think about how DevOps can provide, which tools can you use to automate the security checks, vulnerability assessments, compliance scans, etc. And Azure DevOps, for an example, provides that security layer. So there are multiple angles work on that aspect of it.
I also found it fascinating that you mentioned you need to understand the business, right? It's only then you can actually build applications.
Yeah. You can always build applications if you code, the design document, or you've been given a problem. You can always go and code. I mean, simple as that. Let's say just a tic-tac-toe application that you need to create. I tell you, hey, you need to create a tic-tac-toe application. You'll go and create that application. But always think of it, what if you understand and you are able to relate it to what business situation it will be used in, and you look at what would make the user use my code or application that I am writing. If you keep that in mind, when you're coding, you will make your code so robust. You will make it. You will think about the boundary conditions when testing the code, right? You'll think of all kind of boundary conditions as well, so that the code is more robust and hence the user benefits from it. And that will only be possible when you are actually thinking about which situation your code is going to be used. That's just one example.
So Dibyasom, maybe you can jump in. You're in your final year of college, right? What's your experience been like? Maybe we can start with why you are a student developer. What makes you so passionate to get into it?
I mean, there are two dimensions to that. One, I find cloud computing, or in general anything new in computing, very like I'm curious about anything new that comes in, and I definitely would like to add on to what Himani said, that understanding the business is important, because it does not only it's not about how good a coder you are. That value can never be quantified. It will always depend upon how you are working and what value you bring to the table. But at the same time, if one is aware about the business, I mean, your decision making, your critical thinking, the way you think about the security of the application, the due diligence that you add to it is like second to none. Like it gets much better. if you're have that domain knowledge and specifically that you're in that business and understand that business. For me, how I got into the journey of cloud computing. So it's because you get that freedom to choose the technology that you want to work with. For example, I my initial encounter or the way I got introduced to cloud was in a particular hackathon where I had to hackathon is basically wherein there is a 24-hour session to make a proof of concept of your idea. There is a lack of time and you have to decide whatever is the fastest way of implementation and the most robust way of implementation. So in that kind of time period, there is always you cannot make everything from scratch or you cannot reinvent the wheel. So my ideal approach was one, I have to make my proof of concept of my product, but at the same time, that process would have taken probably a week. So plus the architecture of or the computer system that I had was not capable, or in terms the architecture was not compatible for the code that I wanted to run. So my approach was to, if somehow I can get something from the internet, some kind of virtual machine, and that happened to be cloud. So single click, I think I had used something called the Microsoft DevBox, which is on top of security. You get a secured workstation in the cloud. You develop on top of it. It helps you in collaboration better. And my second reason for actually choosing Microsoft Azure was, and particularly cloud, was definitely I want something secured and it should be on the cloud because definitely my machine does not support it. And another reason that you ever choose a cloud service is when you get stuck, how easy is it for you to actually be back on track? And in that case, there are a lot of developers in Microsoft Azure, which essentially means that if you're stuck with something on websites like Stack Overflow, or if you just simply Google what you're stuck with, you're most likely to get a solution.
Yeah.
That was kind of my introduction to the cloud. And it's like, when you watch a good movie, you want everyone else to have that experience. So then I started mentoring and talking about cloud or in the community in general. So that is in a nutshell my journey.
And what type of skills did you need from a technical point of view? I'm sure you needed a lot just to start doing all this, right? Or what did you have to learn?
The expectation is like that expectation is like, I think how college students are stressed or afraid of doing their first internship. I mean, everyone imagines that you need a whole set of tools or whole set of skills under your belt to get started. But essentially, the company just wants you to be a good learner, a quick learner. And that's what an internship is like, right? It teaches you and you get better at what you're doing. Similarly, to get started with cloud, it's there is not a whole lot of skills that you should be good at. You should be a techie, definitely. You should understand how tech works. You should understand what are the different products and services that you need. For instance, on a cloud or in Microsoft Azure in specific, there are lots of different things that you can do. For example, today it is the only place where you get access to OpenAI APIs to you and build anything on top of ChatGPT, on top of GitHub Copilot, Cortex models. We want access to a virtual machine. Cloud is the way to go. And to use cloud, the processes are very simple. So the only tech stack that one needs to be comfortable with is they should come with an idea, but have a basic understanding of how cloud works. What are different type of clouds that exists, starting from SaaS, software as a service, to platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. You should be able to decide what kind of architecture suits you. You should be able to decide what kind of where do you see your product fits in. For example, cloud can be public, private, and some companies actually have before cloud was a thing, companies used to have their servers on premise. So a lot of companies still use some parts on their on-premise server and some parts on the cloud, and they are doing asynchronous migration. So asynchronously, they're migrating a bit of it, but some part still coexists with their on-prem. So in those cases, there are hybrid clouds, which also does not only let you bring your on-prem, but also serve your cloud across different cloud service providers. And then there are products like Microsoft Azure IoT service, which actually lets you connect to your on-prem hardware and coexist with the Azure cloud services that exist. So those are the only, and it's an architectural knowledge that's the only, I think, prerequisite anyone needs to have. Apart from that, everyone is good to have or good to go with any cloud service, because I mean, there'll always be community support if you go with a good cloud service.
Mhm. Do students get any discounts or any advantages on Azure? I don't know. Is it free? Is it free to use for students?
There are different kinds. One, by design, Microsoft Azure comes with a $200 credits whenever you get started, and if you are a
Mm,
student. And secondly, there are lots of different community activities that Microsoft Azure developer community is invested in. For instance,
mm,
if you go to any hackathon that is sponsored by or in partnership with Azure, you get a free set of credits to build your solution and build your prototype.
mm,
Then there are uh, for example, when you win those hackathons, there is a different set of prizes. Then there are many mentorship events. Then there are certification events wherein you get access to this credits. Then,
mm,
for example, Microsoft runs this community event called, not an event, it's a community called Microsoft Student Learn Ambassadors, wherein every college has one or two MLSE leaders. So they're essentially a point of contact for the community between the college and Microsoft. And
mm,
through that, if anyone needs help with any kind of cloud credits, if they need help with evangelizing a piece of tech,
mm,
evangelizing a new event, and MLSA helps through that. And
mm,
very recently, I've been working closely with Microsoft Student Developer Community or the Microsoft Azure Developer Community, wherein there are at least 50 to 100 events that happens every month throughout all the 100 and more than 100 cities in India,
mm,
wherein a lot of cloud credits, access to cloud credits, access to like expert speakers from Microsoft who not only teach how to use this cloud, how to use the micro Azure cloud, but
mm.
also teach them how to have access to that, what are different career paths to that. So all these things, like, built in together, there is always enough accessibility to the cloud and community through that.
Okay. What do you do with these credits?
So with this credits, they're essentially it's like your kind of your cloud wallet, because
Mm,
the way you pay in cloud is never upfront. You don't even ever have to commit. There
mm.
are commitment models, but 95% of the more than 95% of the cloud products that you will see are pay as you go. So you're
Right.
paying for
Of course.
every microsecond or millisecond that you use. So based on the fact that if you have credits or not in your account, that is how your services run. And any kind of cloud product may be making your state-of-the-art machine learning model, building your, like, even for example, the first project that almost every college student builds is putting out their portfolio website on the internet, right? Like,
Okay.
and as a college student, nobody can actually, if most of them can not actually afford to pay cloud credits in general,
Mm, mm,
keeping aside the other expenses that every college student has. So these cloud credits essentially help you learn, build your prototypes on the internet, share your ideas with the world, because definitely by running on your machine, you cannot share your ideas out in the world. You need a cloud service provider. And that is how these credits help. Like, you use any technology from the cloud. It could be AI, it could be using DevOps, CI/CD pipelines, getting a virtual machine to test, share your idea, prototype your idea, collaborate on the cloud. These credits basically are the currency for everything.
mhm. So you really got into a niche specialty, right? Would you recommend that for everyone? Is it better than being a generalist?
Yeah, definitely it's being better than a generalist, and more so if you have a, like, I would even vouch for that if you have formalize it in the way
Mm,
of a certification, or in one of the entry point that you have access to. There are three different levels of certification, starting from the fundamentals to associate and professional or
mm,
expert. And everyone is definitely exploring cloud and working on it, but that's their set of the journey. That's the journey that they are aware of. When a company is hiring, nobody's aware of that journey. Everyone has a
mm,
different kind of journey, right? And that certification basically formalizes that if this is the person who can act, who has experience, has gone through a test of a series of proctored tests and examinations, done hands-on exercises, and is aware of how the Azure cloud works.
mm,
So, I mean, definitely everyone can build the product or manage the cloud, but how these certifications give the hiring team a confidence is that when something goes down or something breaks or the something goes south, the efficiency of a developer, especially a cloud developer, is measured in a form of a simple metric called MTBF, mean time between failures. How quickly can it be back? And
The
there are a lot of
meantime, what is that? MTBF.
mean time between failures.
Oh, between failures. Okay.
So if you
Uh,
sorry, I think there is a network
yeah,
issue. Yeah. So, that certificate kind of formalizes that you're aware of all the details and all the due diligence that exists that one should be aware of, and you can take a more informed decision since you're certified and you have gone through or been tested on those skills. Under that stress situation, you can perform better. I think that's how that certification helps. That's one of the best way to get started your career.
please, Himani, get it.
Yeah.
If I may just add in here, Akhil, it's basically the tech intensity which people need to focus on, right? And that tech intensity helps you create your new capabilities, whether you are leveraging existing tech or it's a type of job skill, becomes a part of your life. And certification actually just plays that very key initial role in getting you onto that path. It demonstrates that, as he said, that you're proficient in some specific real world skills. And if you just look at, while Dibyasom talked about all the type of certification, and I was just looking at some of the data some time back, it just gives you also a lot of confidence, right? So, and there was some study that was done which actually showed that developers are 90% more productive and 60% more efficient. So while it gives the hiring manager or hiring person that confidence, it also gives the confidence to the developer that, hey, I've done this certification, right? The 61% of actually tech professionals said that they earned a promotion after certification, right? Or 15% on an average certified employees on 15% more than without certification. So they add definitely a lot of confidence and credentials to yourself.
Okay, when it comes to Azure, if we can touch on that, what would you say about like some of the challenges that you see when people, want to become a Azure specialist? What are the stumbling blocks usually that people have to avoid? Himani, I think.
Sorry, there's a little break in the internet at my end. Can you just said, I heard you saying that what are the challenges?
Yeah, for to become an Azure developer.
So if you look at it, the first thing that somebody needs to know is, where do I learn from? You're trying to know, it's not just Azure, anything that you're trying to get into, where do I start? So if you just look at it, go to azure.microsoft.com. There's a very set defined paths there. You can go to Microsoft Learn or MS Learn, which actually helps you give a very structured learning path out there. See that we manage across 100 cities, right? Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities across the country, so that we are able to reach out to each of these developers. And actually, if you look at it, every day in one or the other city, there is some conversation that we are holding. There are cloud skill challenges we keep doing. There are blogathons that we keep doing. There are hackathons that we keep doing for people to help understand. So any new topic that is coming, for an example, OpenAI, GitHub Copilot, these are some of the newer things which are there, which have been there for last 6 months only. So we conduct a series of sessions for these developers who are part of it. So there are around 1.5 million developers who are part of this whole big community that we manage. And some of people like Dibyasom are part of that community, who are mentoring that community as well. they lead some of those student developer communities in their respective cities. So it is a very good way to get started from there and build your learning path, pick up your topics that you want to learn. Because as you said earlier, that is it better to be a generalist or a niche person? It completely depends on every individual. There are people who just want to go deep and deep and deep into, as there are people who want to be generalist and want to know, I want to know about the database as well, I want to know about security as well, I want to know about so all of that. So it completely depends on where is your inclination, what is it that you want to do, and there is a learning path that you can create for yourself, and get ready. And not just that, if you look at once you are starting to starting to even work, you have tools like GitHub Copilot, for an example, right? GitHub Copilot helps people, for an example, faster, right? It is helping people to develop and master those essential skills that you need. So, and we've seen that we've starting to work with many of the ITS organizations, many of the other organizations in the industry which have high development, especially for junior and intermediate developers. We've seen that it results in a minimum of 50% increase in productivity, right?
Okay.
So look at tools like that will help you learn better. So if I to just summarize, what you need to do is you first need to think about what your interests are. Go to our site, look at the MS Learn path, create your own learning path, take sign up for Azure, for an example. You get those credits, as Dibyasom said. Start creating, start practicing, start learning on your own. Leverage GitHub Copilot. There is GitHub Copilot for individuals, which exists out there. Sign up for that and start coding.
And all the hackathons, right? Take part in that, you'll learn by yourself.
Correct. Participate in hackathons, be part of the community that we have. Participate in the hackathons, participate in the Cloud Skills Challenge. So we run a Cloud Skills Challenge for the community, and it keeps happening very, very regularly. So whatever skills you are, and you can actually then improvise depending on where do you stand. Yeah.
So we have a question from Guru Raj. He's asking, how does vendor independent certificates like CISM, how can they be leveraged?
So these are the industry certifications of. Go ahead, Dibyasom.
No, I was just I was just asking. I could not understand the question. Could you please?
Okay.
Please, Himani, these independent
so these are
certificates.
Industry certificates that definitely, yeah, they definitely help, because that is basically your concepts and the architectures and all of those that you are certifying yourself, and you are being vendor neutral, you're being product neutral. Those basic stuff will be there in every product that you do, whichever cloud that you go to, those would provide you that foundation.
Dibyasom, maybe you can jump in. In your journey so far, what's been the toughest thing? And even among your friends, your college friends and all, who are interested in cloud computing, what do they stumble on?
So my inclination, or my the domain that I most closely work with in cloud is artificial intelligence, and that's something that I even do currently. So in artificial intelligence, the only problem that I've always faced is limited hardware, because for AI you definitely need a set of GPUs or a graphical processor. So so for me, the cloud always solves that problem, because in cloud you can choose your the way cloud is built on. Like you can basically create assemble any kind of virtual devices and make your own rig on the system on the fly, and run your models. You can run your code on top of it, and that is something that I always have access to because of cloud, of course. And a lot of and while working with this community, we also realized that a lot of friends of mine and a lot of people from the community had these challenges of what are the different kind of problems that they can actually solve via cloud, of course. So we wanted to solve that problem, but now basically when people start developing products, they always get into this situation of what to build in-house versus what to actually leverage from the cloud as much as they can. And the only example that I ever try to even works for me, even in most of the tutorials or in most of the workshops, this is the example that I always use, that like YouTube has one of the best recommendation system in the world, if we talk about the videos that it suggests. And 95 or 99% of the time it suggests you the video that you're most likely to watch. But one odd day we see a video that's probably unlikely, we are unlikely to watch it, like it's something out of the blue, and that's the only day we remember. So essentially that means that even if a model is 99% correct or 99% accurate, the end users will always complain about that one day when their experience was bad. And that's typically the kind of problem that cloud can help you solve, because when you build a machine learning product in-house, there are a set of there is a checklist that you have to completely be diligent with before you actually put your model into the market. Because when end users come into the market, the kind of data that flows in, the kind of experience they get will be very different from what we have experienced in-house while during the alpha or the beta test. So the cloud service provider like Azure in particular has a lot of these products which solve these solved problems for you, the architectural problems, the deployment problems. How do you manage, monitor your models? Then there is this complete MLOps pipeline, or the machine learning operations, like based on the feedback from your customer, how efficiently are you able to deliver a better performing model, or how you're able to deliver better performance. For these, there are production grade tools that let you reduce your time to market, and of course make sure that you only focus on the business specific problems, and your infrastructure and those things are solved for you on your behalf if you're using a cloud service. So that has been the biggest challenge for me in the domain of machine learning, and that is how I use cloud to solve that problem. And something to like a recent success story, if I could share from the community, is
Please.
I mostly I closely work with Reskill and Azure developer community, and I was fortunate enough that they actually invited me to to be a mentor for their recent initiative called Include Her, wherein it's a part of She Builds on Azure, wherein we are teaching a lot of women developers on to be proficient on Azure. So in the last 3 months, we have trained about 1,000 different developers from different parts of India. There were more than 10,000 to 15,000 applications based on their shortlisting from about how much is their inclination to different skills and what they want to learn. That is how we shortlisted. And in less than 3 months, out of those 1,000 odd developers, more than 950 of them have actually cleared Azure certifications, starting from cloud fundamentals to AI and DevOps. And the success story after that is, after they posted the certifications, there were so many success stories that came back to me, to Sarthak, who's also working with the Azure developer community, that so many of them got internship, so many of them got into newer roles, helped them ace the hackathons, because Microsoft also provided like all the certifications which are normally paid were free for the people who graduated from this, because it was sponsored and provided by Azure developer community. So I think that is how it's community. That is how we are invested in the community through Azure developer community.
Yes, so students should really be on the lookout for such initiatives, right?
Yeah.
And take advantage of them. Okay, excellent. We have run out of time. So both Himani, Dibyasom, thank you so much for taking part in this. And thanks to the audience for tuning in. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for